K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
All right, folks, it is Monday, August 24th, 2015. If I seem a little bit out of sorts today, I'm actually not feeling well, but we're going to try to muddle through the show today anyway. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's another sad day here in Oklahoma. We've had another death of a prominent figure, this one not my natural causes. The Oklahoma Labor Commissioner, Mr. Mark Costello, was actually murdered last night. Allegedly by his son, Christian. We'll actually touch on that some today. Hopefully here in just a few minutes I'll get Jared with me here as well. I do have an interview that I recently did with the Labor Commissioner that we're going to go ahead and play today, only because it's, I don't know, it's, like I said, it's a sad day here in Oklahoma. I only met him once, but he seemed like a really passionate guy who loved both the state of Oklahoma and his country, and the state mourns today. Now, before we get onto the breaks and coming back with the opening of the show and all that fun stuff, I want to give a quick shout-out to the affiliates, AMFM247.com, Leading Edge Radio Network, Red State Talk Radio, SHR Media. I know there's a couple that I'm forgetting. Sorry, folks. Like I said, it's been a rough few days here. I actually, for those of you who follow along, I haven't done a show since Wednesday night, and it's because I actually felt well for the last several days. I'm just going to keep trying to muddle through. But at this point, we're going to go ahead and take a break, pay some bills. We'll be right back here in just a couple minutes with the start of the show. Alright, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, so we are back. We are live, of course. This is Rick Robinson. You are listening to America Off the Rails, and it is, of course, Monday. I know we already went over that earlier, but I figured, what the heck. All right, so I am joined today by Jared Day, co-host and producer of Red Nation Rising Radio. And basically what we're going to do at the beginning of the show, for those of you who may not have had a chance to get to know the Labor Commissioner, I did an interview with him recently. We're actually going to open the show with that interview. One, because I hadn't been feeling well. I threw a lot of these topics at Jared at the last minute, so he's still doing a lot of prep work. So we're going to do about 15 minutes extra to get his feet under him before we bring him over, and then we can actually just kind of talk about anything that piqued his interest on the interview or anything else that he's read. But just to give everybody an idea of who it is that we've actually lost here in the state of Oklahoma, this is a recent interview with former, now deceased, Labor Commissioner Mark Costello during the SRLC 15 event that I actually was allowed to attend as a member of the press. And this is an interview that we did with him there. I'm joined this afternoon by Mr. Mark Costello. He's going to do a little bit of a sit-down with us. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Well, Rick, I am doing great. It's a great day in Oklahoma, particularly for the Republican Party.
Yeah, I have to admit, this has been a rather energizing event. I actually got to sit in a little bit on some of the general session earlier today, which I didn't get a chance to do yesterday because having never done anything like this before, it was a bit of an overwhelming experience at first. So, but yeah.
Well, I tell you what, it makes me understand what it's like to live in Iowa or New Hampshire or South Carolina. I mean, to have attention given to us by these eminent presidential candidates is good stuff. It's really good because most likely the next president of the United States has walked through these doors in the last few days.
I hope so. Otherwise, it might have been his wife.
Well, surely we're not going to go there. I mean, but no, I mean, look, there's a lot of great candidates that people are saying it's the clown car at the circus. All I can say is our bench is deep, the talent pool is deep, but I have a favorite in the race, and that's Governor Scott Walker.
Oh, man, after Grouchy's heart over here. That's his guy, too, so far. And I have to admit, he is I don't really have a favorite at the moment, but if he were to declare, he would probably be my favorite. Right now, he's not because he hasn't made his intentions clear.
Well,
I want commitment, man.
Well, look, he's waiting. He's doing his job as governor. The legislature is still in session, but there is no doubt that he is running for president, and there is no doubt with his performance in Wisconsin in the most important non-presidential election thus far this century, where the battle royale between public sector unions, organized labor that wished to defeat him, that the taxpayers of Wisconsin won. He cured a $3.5 billion deficit. He did not have to lay people off. He was able to put more money into the paychecks of teachers merely by no longer requiring them to be members of a union that they chose not to be and pay dues that were only used for political purposes. Scott Walker is a hero of the taxpayers of this country.
Well, yeah, like I said, he would probably be my guy. I don't know. Until he actually officially declares, I'm really not going to make a pick. But if he does declare, he will likely be my guy because of everybody that's really running right now. He stands for pretty much everything I'm looking for.
Well, what do you hear, Rick? I mean, you've been talking to a lot of people. You've talked to your colleagues here. He looks like a smart fella.
I am under no illusions that he will probably announce at some point. And actually, we discussed this yesterday when we were doing live broadcasts, and he did point out that what he thinks that Walker not declaring right now is actually smart because any fundraising that he does right now, he doesn't necessarily have to fall into certain guidelines.
In speaking with Governor Walker yesterday, and by the way, in 2012, in the recall election, when the left, the Democrat Party, the Union, spent over $100 million attempting to defeat him, I went up to Wisconsin and I worked some victory centers for him. And that, once again, was the battle of the century. But I talked to one state senator, Senator Darling, that the Union spent $7 million. Now, to put that in perspective, that's more than the Republicans and the Democrats in the primary and the general election spend in Oklahoma for the gubernatorial race. So they spent $7 million for one state Senate race because they understood how important it was. And those of us who are conservative understand that if we had lost that battle in Wisconsin, then the rest of the nation would be marching towards Detroit. And I would have to say that Detroit, which was the richest city in the Western world in 1950, and today has an adult illiteracy of 47%, if we want to go towards that type of degradation, then we should not support candidates like Governor Walker, who understand that there's a time to lead, there's a time to have a backbone, and there's a time also to bring along, for the better good of the people of Wisconsin, implement reforms that are necessary.
Well, yeah, and I agree with everything that you just said. It's interesting that you bring up Detroit because for the longest time, Detroit was the model that the liberal would always run to about how things should be run. And now you look at it several decades later, and it looks like it's now part of a third world country.
It is. Well, interesting you should mention that, Rick, because the adult illiteracy of 47% in Detroit is on par with the Central African Republic, which also has 47% adult illiteracy. The difference, the Central African Republic was ruled for decades by a dictator who happened to be a cannibal, whereas Detroit has merely been ruled by the Democrat Party for 60 years. Same outcome. Yeah, they've turned Detroit from the richest city in the world to a complete and total basket case. And dare I say, that is the fruit of socialism.
Well, yeah, and I completely agree. I mean,
and statism as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite Thatcher quotes was, "What do you do when you run out of other people's money?"
Yeah, that's right. That's the definition of socialism.
And that's exactly what happened in Detroit. They ran out of everybody else's money.
Well, some people say, well, Detroit's a special circumstance. Well, they've run out of toilet paper in Venezuela. How's that socialism working? I don't know about you, but as a father of 5 kids, that could be a cause for revolution in itself.
I have 4 of my own, and
you can see. Come on. Here's the point.
That was a picture I really didn't need.
No, you probably didn't. But let me tell you a story. We're all part of our life experience. Mine has been founding businesses that have gone international, presently, the last business I founded in 2009 is now selling products in 60 different countries around the world. But in the late 70s, I ran into a Roman Catholic bishop from one of the largest Polish cities in the world, Chicago. Bishop Wojtyla, who happened to be the first cousin of Pope John Paul II, when I came to visit him in Chicago, said, when Poles come from the Soviet bloc countries, come from Poland, and come to Chicago for the first time, one of their first visits is to a grocery store. And there they see 30 different types of peanut butter, 40 different types of bread. They see aisles of toilet paper. And they turn to their cousins and they say, this is a Potemkin village. This is a show store to fool us rubes coming from a communist country. And their cousins say, no, this is how America is. This is the fruit of free people and a free market, choice and selection. In Poland, they had chronic toilet paper shortages, one type of bread, one type of peanut butter. And they could not, they were gobsmacked, they couldn't get over it. And similarly, when it comes to government control, we understand intuitively we don't want them building our cars, but yet we have them running our schools. And the teachers union, whether it be in Baltimore or Detroit, ends up with a disastrous result for the people they're supposed to be serving.
Yeah, no argument from me. I've said before, live on the air multiple times, that the states were originally intended to be independent, separate laboratories. I mean, another definition of a state is a country. So the idea of a regular, just national agency overseeing the education for an entire country, what works in one state is not going to work in another. I understand maybe setting some minimum guidelines, but to not allow them to capitalize in certain areas on certain forms of education make no sense to me.
Well, let me give you an example. Coming from the private sector, you come into the public sector and you realize it's not the private sector. There's no profit motive. But we do have a best practice motive. And let me give you an example. When I came into office, Oklahoma was paying $2.52 for workers' comp coverage that only cost $1 in Arkansas. We were paying $2.52. Most of us would cross rush hour traffic to save a few pennies. This was a huge difference. I went and checked it out in Arkansas, found out that 25 years ago they had amongst the worst in the country in Arkansas, but Governor Jim Guy Tucker and the Democrats fixed it. The result, that was, by the way, before Governor Jim Guy Tucker went to jail for corruption. So a corrupt governor and the Democrats could fix a system that became the exemplar in the country. So it's our obligation to look at that system, bring it to Arkansas. We did so 2 years ago. And the same is true of corrections. The same is true of the reform of bureaucracy. The are 2 words, is best practices. Sans a profit motive, that's the most we can hope for, but there's much more we can do in Oklahoma.
So how much longer are you in the office you hold currently?
I will be through 2018.
Plan on running for anything else after that? Because you might have my vote.
Well, I've sometimes, when people ask me that question, to be a smarty, I'll say, well, do Pavlovian dogs salivate?
Only when the bell rings.
Yeah. So, and politicians, when that bell rings every election cycle, they just, there's this compulsion. They just think people need them. Look, the world will get by just fine without any of us. Politics is ephemeral. It's like the mist. It goes away. But at the same time, I didn't take a sabbatical from viable businesses that are doing actually better without me, as it turns out. I didn't take a sabbatical from businesses to stand for public office so I can be a night watchman in the graveyard of the welfare state. I actually chose public service because I do believe that Oklahoma is a great state, and the people are greater than the political class that we have that is in office, and we can do better, and like Scott Walker, with leadership, we will do better.
It's interesting that you mentioned political class, because they really have become their own separate class apart from general society at this point, in my opinion.
Well, here's an interesting
point, at least the DC
let me tell you a story, Rick. You're so young, but do you know who George McGovern was?
Yes, I know.
Okay. You have to have a little bit of girth and gray to remember George McGovern. This is a good story. Okay.
Not much gray, lots of girth.
When he ran, of course, for president, got his backside beat off in 1972. However, In 1980, after he was run out of the Senate in the Reagan Revolution, he went out and started a small boutique hotel in Connecticut with a partner, which, by the way, is always a bad idea in business to have a partner. But it's like conjugal relations without, it's at any rate. I won't even go there. But so he goes off and starts his hotel, and for the first time in his life, he has nanny state regulators from the city, the county, the state. He has cranky employees, competition, bankers. He has workers' comp fraud, lawsuits, and eventually he goes broke. So George McGovern in 1992 wrote a column, an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal in which he said, if I had had that life experience of knowing what a lawmaker, the effect a lawmaker has on a business person, if I had had that life experience before I was a United States Senator, I would have made a finer United States Senator. If I had been elected President of the United States in 1972, I would have made a finer president. To your point, Rick, we have and oftentimes reward people because of their personality. We reward them because of their name ID. Fair enough. But we need to look at what forms them in their life. And that makes a difference. And whether they're of the political class, I don't know how to define it other than I would rather have George McGovern after he had failed in business than before.
I understand that as well, and I think that's been one of everybody's major concerns with Obama now that he's come to light a lot more, that the fact that really the whole time everybody's been trying, that anybody that knew anything about him was trying to say, look, nobody knows who this guy is, he's never really accomplished anything, and now he's running the country. I would rather have somebody in that position that is, if nothing else, failed at running a business than have been a community organizer.
The fact that less than 10% of his administration has ever had any real employment in the private sector, which, by the way, the previous low bar on that was set under the Carter administration at 30%, but less than 10% is one thing, but the other 90% are an open hostility to the private sector. They think if somehow you've been successful in the private sector, it's ill-gotten gains.
You didn't build that.
You didn't build that, absolutely. So, yes, we have a challenge in Washington. We have a cultural challenge. We have an economic challenge. But it's not going to cure itself unless good people stand for office and can win the heart and the mind of the voters and say, no more, we can no longer continue to do the insane things that got us here.
And I completely agree. All right, so I don't know how much you were planning on hanging around, but we're about the 15-minute mark. Why don't you go ahead and let everybody know who you are one more time, what it is that you're doing?
I am the elected Labor Commissioner of the state of Oklahoma. I'm Mark Costello, a recovering businessman, passionate about public office, public policy. Oklahoma is a great state. We can do more and better in the future, but we have to make the right selections.
I completely agree. It was a pleasure, sir.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, folks, so that was Labor Commissioner Mark Costello. Now, I know anybody inside of Oklahoma probably knows the story, but we do have a nationwide audience, so just to bring everybody up to speed, yesterday evening, he met with his son, Christian Costello. Apparently, they were having some sort of an argument, so they had decided to meet somewhere in public, and at one point, the discussion became heated. Apparently, Christian Costello had a knife that no one knew about. He stabbed his father, I believe, a total of twice inside the Brahms restaurant where they were having their discussion. His father tried to flee the scene on foot. Christian then chased him not once but twice around the Brahms parking lot, continuing to stab his dad at one time. I never got the actual number of times he was stabbed, but I know that one of them was in the back of the head. At one point, passerbys had subdued Christian, called the authorities, tried to get an ambulance, but by the time the ambulance arrived, it was pretty much a moot point. So, I don't know about you guys. I don't really know of any way to put this. I mean, if you were listening to that interview, to the passion that he had not only for the state of Oklahoma, but for conservative ideals and for this country, then we have lost a bright, shining light. And I didn't know this until I started talking to some folks that I run in certain circles. But apparently, he was the one that a couple of local legislators, I don't know why I always say that word wrong on the first try every single time. But anyway, a couple of local legislators were actually trying to convince him to put his hat in the ring for the governor's election that'll be coming up here again pretty soon. I don't know, it just seems to me a pretty sad day here in Oklahoma. And on that note, because I know Jared doesn't really know him, so I don't think he really has too much to add to it, I think we're going to go ahead and take the break a little early, so we can actually keep the last half of the show to the full 30 minutes. And then we do have a lot of other things to talk about. I just want to take a moment to say my thoughts and prayers are with the Costello family and his friends. That's really all I got, folks. We'll be back here in a minute.
A show that will change internet radio as you know it.
Okay, so let's talk about the story, which I think is hilarious. I'm just going to refer to it as the poop plane, because, like, what else are you going to call it? But there was this plane, okay? It took off. It's the British Airways. They were going to Dubai. I have a hard time pronouncing that one.
It was British Airways? It wasn't Jet. It wasn't Jet Poo?
It was.
Couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I like it. This story, if we've ever had a story that is up our alley, it's this one. It's bathroom humor up from front to back of the airplane, apparently. They had to turn around to go back to Heathrow because they said the smelly poo in the toilet became unbearable for passengers, and it was so bad. They decided it's so bad that they had to turn around and go back rather than continue their flight. They decided that there wasn't enough Febreze, there wasn't enough anything to handle this.
Maybe they should see a doctor. Is there a GoFundMe for this guy?
It must be a woman, because a woman's going to be mortified and embarrassed. If this is a guy, you know that he's like out there on Twitter and everything else saying, dude, I took down an airplane with how bad that I laid it down.
There wasn't a woman who flew on Jet Poo. She ate so many burritos she didn't know what to do.
So we turned the plane around because they made a big stink. We've just made it into a haiku at the end, but there had to be something.
Real Serious Nonsense, Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, now on K98 Talk.
Our military service members volunteer to protect us in the most dangerous places around the world. They step up. And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home. Beyond all the hospitals and doctors and surgeries they need just to survive, they also deserve whatever they need to truly live. All the in-home care and day-to-day help they need to live independently, on their own terms. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs were established to provide these brave men and women whatever they need to continue their fight for independence, at no cost, for life. So many of them need us, and it's time for a grateful nation to step up. Find out how you can do your part at findwwp.org.
Are you conservative in a world of liberal?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not alone. Hey, I'm Daniel Stafford, host of the Stafford Voice, and I'd like to invite you to tune in each Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, where I'll break down the events of the week, and together we'll learn about how they affect you. So, sit back and get ready for the good, the bad, and the ugly of talk radio right here on K98 Talk.
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form codex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
Alright folks, we're back, we're live, and guess what? Thanks to a technical issue, yours truly was talking to himself for about a minute and 15 seconds. So, before we went to break, what I was trying to do was bring folks up to speed that might be outside of the Oklahoma area that do listen to the show. Mark Costello, of course, is our labor commissioner here, or was. He and his son were having a discussion, and it turned into an argument. They decided they were going to, I guess they were having the discussion over the phone. They decided they were going to meet somewhere publicly, which was a Brahms here in northwest Oklahoma City. There was an argument that ensued. Christian, his son, had a knife. He stabbed Commissioner Costello at least twice that I know of in the store. Commissioner Costello tried to flee the scene on foot. Christian pursued him. He chased him around the store a couple of times, where he again stabbed him, I do believe, at least 2 or 3 more times, at which point in time one of the stab wounds was to the back of the head at about the base of the neck. Now, passerbys, of course, had seen the struggle going on in the parking lot. The assailant was subdued at that point. The police arrived along with medical, and of course there wasn't too much that could be done for Commissioner Costello. Now, for those of you who might not have heard him before, that's one reason why I wanted to play the interview today, because you could hear his passion. You could hear his love for not only his state, but for the country. And a bright, shining light of conservatism is now dim, thanks to the actions of one person. I just want to take a moment to say thoughts and prayers are with the family, all of the family and all of his friends. I'm not sure how his son will be able to deal with what it is that he's done, but I do hope that at some point he finds some form of peace, because I can't imagine a worse thing than being angry enough with not only a person, but a family member to just decide, hey, it's a good idea to kill this person. And I don't understand that. And I think that's one of the things, and maybe it's my background, because there are tons of people that I talk to every day that say that we don't really need government and we don't need laws or legislation, because deep down people are inherently good. Maybe it's because I've spent so much time dealing with the bad in people. Maybe I don't necessarily see the good anymore. Not the way that I should. But then stories like this come to light, and the Josh Duggar thing come to light, and the Ashley Madison thing come to light, and the Jared Fogle thing come to light. And I keep looking around at all these people going, are you seriously trying to tell me that we are inherently good? Because I don't see it. I don't understand how we have gotten to the point where we are so callous that we can just take a life and not even think about it. It doesn't work for me. But I guess it's a good thing we had the technical issue, because that actually kind of segued into another topic that I know Jared definitely wanted to talk about today, which is Planned Parenthood, and the fact that not only are they taking lives, they're doing rather creative things with the leftover pieces. So if I heard you, or we were talking during the break through the chat system, and you had mentioned that you were at one of those events this weekend. Was that correct?
Yeah, I was in Phoenix on Saturday, and I did find out that across the country, all of the local media outlets, the little corporate media, mainstream media, they call themselves journalism, but they did not cover the protests. And what's very sad is that there was one in Phoenix, and then there were several other cities in Arizona that had over 1,000 people. And Phoenix was huge. I think there was 2,000 people. It was large enough that they had a lot of roads closed. They had Phoenix PD was out in full force. They did a great job. It was peaceful. Planned Parenthood cranked their music from their buildings, and we were across the street was where the tents were. We had 2 U.S. representatives speak. We had chairman of the GOP for Arizona. We had reverends speak. It was a positive experience for something that's really disgusting and speaks volumes about how low our society has sunk. But to see that many people all over Arizona, I got some good pictures, and I gathered up some tweets from other cities and threw them up on my website Saturday at rebootingliberty.com. There's a short video of, I had trouble getting video. It was about 108 degrees, and it was, we were out in the sun. So, but, I talked to a few people in their states, and their media did not cover the protests. And there were some states that had some great turnouts. And I don't know, Rick, the media impedes any kind of getting out a message that on the conservative side. And Facebook isn't helping. They've shut down pages since Saturday that have been pushing the defund Planned Parenthood message. One page that has over 200,000 likes, a couple other smaller pages are banned for a certain amount of time, shut down. All conservatives. So it's happening again on Facebook. They're shutting down people's personal accounts. So, everybody that posts about Planned Parenthood is, you may get banned for a short time. And I was banned a few months ago, and I got my account back. I really don't care, because I'll say it, Facebook, I just do not like Facebook. I wish that, something new would come up. And anyway, Rick, I don't know about Oklahoma. I heard it was raining pretty good there on Saturday during the National Day of Protest.
Well, I can honestly say I didn't hear much here, which surprised me. But yeah, I was working, so I did the Finding Common Ground show, and then I produced Bryce's show. Speaking of which, he had a pretty good interview with a lesser-known conservative candidate, so you folks might want to go check that out. Honestly, we're going to work on seeing about getting him onto the show. But, you mentioned something that speaks volumes about Planned Parenthood. Something else that nobody's really talking about that speaks volumes about Planned Parenthood? While we've had all these folks that are coming out against Planned Parenthood, who's for Planned Parenthood and was actually openly having a protest of support in Planned Parenthood? Satanist groups. Now, if that does not speak volumes to you, then you're not paying attention.
Yeah. Were they dumping milk on people or something? One of them got kind of nasty. It wasn't just peaceful, but yeah, when you have Satanists as your strongest supporters, that says something right there. The liberals that are supporting Planned Parenthood, or the progressives, whatever, they really should watch the videos, even if they are going to, forget about it and still support Planned Parenthood. I'd be willing to bet that most of them haven't even watched the videos, and I bet if they did, a handful of them would change their mind. Do you think?
Well, the biggest thing about those videos is the only way that you're going to convince anybody is to get them to actually watch the unedited version of it, which happens to be really, really long. I know because I sent it to Bryce as homework when we talked about it. I said, look, you keep talking about these videos being edited. Here's the whole thing.
Yeah, right.
I mean, and you can't tell me that they cherry-picked stuff in a 2-hour and 18-minute video at that point, because that was a lot of footage. And that's the thing. It's not even, they don't even deny what they're doing. They're just saying that it's not illegal to do what they're doing. My issue isn't necessarily even that it's illegal. It's, number one, it's immoral. Number two, why does somebody that's making millions of dollars parting out aborted fetuses like parts from a car at a chop shop need my tax money anymore to fund their services? They don't.
Exactly. That's the first step. Stop. Even the states are using state tax money partially to fund them. And I don't know about every state, but in Arizona. And that has to stop. And I think that Congress, there's a good chance they'll be able to do that. Unless they cave, like they've caved on almost everything. But
well, let's just be honest. There's a good chance that Congress will do absolutely nothing because it's what Congress does.
I'm hopeful. I'm trying to be, positive because it seems like a no-brainer to me. But not everyone thinks the same way, and the fact that we elected people that have an R next to their name that wouldn't fight for their lives to stop taxpayer money to pay for these atrocities. What's our system's broken because it's very sad. I'm trying to be positive about it. It was really powerful to listen to some of the speakers that were there. People are really passionate about it, and I think that the media should be ashamed of themselves for ignoring this many people, not giving them a voice in the national media. The grassroots new media can't do everything. They did a good job on getting it out on social media, but the mainstream media should be ashamed of themselves. All of the local state-run media outlets that have their agenda, they're shameful. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just completely messed up. And, it's interesting because I saw a meme last night that actually kind of got me thinking. It was a side-by-side shot of a Democrat in the 1800s, early 1800s, and a Democrat today. And one, of course, was standing next to a slave, and the other was standing with a picture of an aborted, or a picture of a fetus behind them. And the caption read, "Not human." Seems like that's their argument for pretty much everything.
Yeah. But, a tree is pretty important. So, and I mean, a lion, I love lions, but let's be serious. They don't value human life. And it's the slippery slope. We've been sliding down it since the 70s with the abortion, and separate the issues. Separate abortion from picking apart a baby and selling the parts. You can separate the two things and defund them because of that. There's proof, and they can take legal action. They can prove that they were profiting from it. They weren't just breaking even or whatever they're going to try and say. There's so many lies in there. And yeah, the problem is Congress may not push hard enough, and they may cave and they may waffle because, it's going to affect somebody politically. So they'll back off of it. All we can do is continue to push it on social media, go to the protests. What else can we do, Rick? Really, what can we do?
No, I mean, a lot of us are doing the things that we're doing. I mean, we're using the platforms that we have to talk about it. Bloggers and radio hosts and new media folks of all types are like, look, this is not acceptable. And here, I'm going to go back to the same thing that I say all the time. Even if you are pro-abortion, if you can legitimately look and say what they're doing is right, okay, fine. that doesn't change the fact that if they're making billions of dollars off of these parts that they're selling, they don't need my tax money anymore. Give it to some of the other smaller clinics that do need the money still. Let's find ways to bring more health care to women. We can fund the things that don't involve at some point it turning into a chop shop for babies. There are plenty of women's health centers that don't do abortions that could use the public funding to do the things like the mammograms and everything else that Planned Parenthood tells everybody that they do, but I can't see a single instance of them ever doing one.
Right. And there is statistics and there is proof. I don't have them in front of me, but what they said about abortion is a small part of their business. It's not. It's the opposite. And you're right. Tax money should be going into something else. I agree 100%. Let's just hope Congress believes that enough to set aside their own political ambitions, even if they... That's the problem. These people, they won't... Cruz has gone out on, he's risked his political career, but most of these people won't go against something risking their next election based on principle. They'll back off because they want to be elected again, and they won't stand.
It goes back to something that Costello said during that interview that we did. The election cycle bell rings and they all start salivating. It's become a Pavlovian response. It doesn't make any sense to me at this point. Well, we don't have term limits for every single thing, because then they can't be focusing on how am I going to get elected this time, because eventually they're going to run out of time and then they're going to have to do their jobs. But before we change gears and get to a couple of these other smaller ideas that I wanted to at least touch on for a couple minutes and announce a couple of the changes here, there was another article that you said, or a bit that you said was a pretty big story on your site today. Why don't we go ahead and spend a few minutes talking to folks about that?
Yeah, it just happened to catch people's eye. I think the dog food, Geraldo Rivera on Gutfeld said, who are we to say that aborted children don't belong in dog food? Now, that's just part of a bigger conversation, but it's an article written by a contributor who also contributes to the Patriot Update. He sent it to me late last night, and it's funny, you post some articles during the day and you never know which one's going to get people's interest and get the most views, but today that one won out, and it's at rebootingliberty.com. It's also at the top of my Twitter feed. My Twitter handle is at JarrettDayAZ. So I won't spoil the article in case people want to read it. It's a good article. I didn't write it. This guy's a good writer, though.
Well, yeah, the biggest reason I even wanted to bring it up was, how could you even justify that statement? Who are we to say that carved up dead babies don't belong in dog food?
He saying what he meant was to what a woman does with her aborted child, and what Planned Parenthood is picking apart and selling. It's a callous remark, but he tried to. There's no way really to backpedal on that one. It's just wrong on so many levels. How does this guy have a national platform? If a conservative person made a statement like that on national TV, that would be a major story.
Dude, there would be like cross burnings and lynchings.
Yeah. So
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. So he's kind of bringing to light other countries like China will take the babies, they kill female babies. They'll take the fetuses and they will put them on a grill and cook them until they're powder and put them into capsules, and they'll sell them as sexual enhancement pills. That's a fact. In other places they burn the fetuses. Actually, in this country, or right north of the border in Canada, they do that. It's really, I never knew about any of this stuff until the Planned Parenthood I started reading, and it's just, our society is just, I don't even know. I really don't know what to say, but Geraldo didn't back down on that comment. He tried to justify it, saying various things, and there's really no way to justify saying something like that. I mean, come on, dog food.
No, I mean, honestly, he should have just been like, you know what, that didn't come out the way I had hoped. Let's move on, because, I mean, you know, I've never been a huge fan of Geraldo, and I was honestly surprised when I found out that he was going over to Fox News, but, you know, I mean, they do have, I mean, it's kind of like here. I have people that say crazy things all the time. I have some libertarian folks who just did a show last night about why they think anarchy is the best way to go. I have a couple of liberals who say crazy things all the time. So, I mean, I understand, and I hope that what he was trying to do was gin up some shock value, and that he actually didn't mean, hey, who are we to say that you can't do those things? Because who we are are human beings, and we should, at least in this country, we should be like, hey, you know, that type of stuff doesn't work here. I mean, I'm not saying that we become Team America World Police on who does what with their aborted children, but I'm saying that in America, we don't need to be doing what we're doing right now. That just, I mean, even the thought of what these children are going through, how they're being basically slaughtered and then chopped up into pieces and sold off as parts. If that does not break your heart, then I hate to say it, but maybe you're not as human as you think you are.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, this show's kind of never really gotten off of the sad track, so let's change gears for a second. Down to about 6 minutes at this point-ish. One thing I do want to do is announce the fact that thanks to a couple of new sponsors, we do have some contests that will be starting September 1st. We have Art is War, which is a company that makes conservative t-shirts and bumper stickers. They have donated several to us, so we're going to start doing a monthly giveaway program for them. We also have a holster company, and all of a sudden their name escapes me. Yay, great guy I am here. Hang on a second, I can find it because I know where it is. Rebel Road Tactical. I knew if I just sit there and thought about it long enough, it would pop right back in there. Which is actually run by a friend of mine on Twitter. We've been talking quite a bit. He actually makes custom holsters. He's going to start donating one a month for us to give away to listeners. The rules and everything will be coming out after September 1st. There will be email addresses associated with each giveaway, and basically what will happen is we will pick a show at random that starts the contest, and then the contest will run for the entirety of the month until we get to the designated email number. And then at that point, we will send the stuff off to make sure that you guys get t-shirts or bumper stickers, or even the holster, depending on which contest you actually win. And as we keep adding more and more sponsors, another thing that we're actually starting to try to work on is getting a cruise put together for K98Talk.com, probably, hopefully, sometime in February or March. Not sure how that's going to all come together yet, but we do have an event planner looking into it. So as things continue to progress, I will definitely keep you informed. Lots of stuff going on.
Cruise, huh?
Yeah, well, it actually wasn't my idea, but I thought it was kind of cool. JD and Stacy were kind of joking around about doing a cruise, and then one of the people that were listening to their show actually happened to be an event planner. And then we started thinking, if we get all of the shows promoting the cruise and actually can get a discount for it, it might actually work out for everybody. So we shall see. But anyway, one last story I definitely wanted to touch on, then it's about time for us to get out of here. Over the weekend, I believe it was over the weekend anyway, at this point, I am still feeling kind of blah, but I think it was either Friday or Saturday. There was a potential terrorist attack in France on a train, and it was stopped by 2 American servicemen and one of their lifetime friends who happened to be in France on vacation. Interestingly enough, they're like getting keys to the city, they're meeting with the president. I'm pretty sure if it happened over here, Obama would be rooting for the other guys. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I sure would.
But yeah, it's interesting because, I've seen all kinds of things popping up about, all these politicians that have said the only thing that can stop a crazed man with a gun is a sane person with a gun and all that fun stuff. And of course, now all the liberals are jumping all over it and been like, well, look, these guys did it and they didn't have any guns. There were 3 of them. 2 of them have had military training.
Well, the guy's AK was jammed. If his AK was not jammed, it would have went down differently.
Yeah, there's that too.
But yeah, it's funny. They will jump on any story and try and benefit from it somehow with certain agendas. Even a positive thing where our servicemen prevent the deaths of many others. That's not the first thing I would think of. That's not my first thought when I heard about that story.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my first thought either. Is, oh, look, you crazy conservatives, they did all that without a gun. Really? All right, so since we are winding down, why don't you go ahead and remind folks of where it is they can find you and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, Red Nation Rising Radio. And my website is rebootingliberty.com. And you can follow me. I'll follow you back on Twitter, Jared Day AZ.
All right. Well, folks, that is going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails. I, of course, am Rick Robinson. I'll be back with you tomorrow, God willing, and hopefully I feel a little bit better. But I do hope you guys have enjoyed the show today, and be on the lookout for those contests that are coming soon. Stay tuned tonight for Real Serious Nonsense and the Stafford Voice. Up next, a replay of Liz Harrison. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow.
Screw you guys. I'm getting home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.